mission coworker for the Presbyterian Church USA, serving in Peru since 2009, so about 15 years now. I'm here for COP, following specifically the theme of a just transition. Historically, that's been kind of looked at from the labor point of view, those who might lose jobs as we transition from fossil fuels to renewable energies. But from Peru and many places in the global south and in the US, folks are looking at it from the perspective of the resources needed to transition to renewable energies, because it's going to require a massive amount of critical minerals, copper, lithium, cobalt, nickel, etc. And all these minerals, in fact, the majority, way more than 50% of them, are located on indigenous lands in places like Peru. So we're here to ensure that, to follow this issue, because we're standing up for the rights of indigenous peoples, for them to defend their lands. And what I've seen so far is it's not something that's being addressed here. There's a void. The focus is in the theme of a just transition is primarily on the labor piece, which is very, very important. But this piece is also very important. And I would go even further and say, I think for the church is particularly important. The ways we've engaged the world, recognizing, yeah, some great stuff has happened throughout the history, but some really horrible things have also happened and been allowed to happen. Because we've still held on to some beliefs and concepts about how we go into the world that are rooted in concepts that were formed hundreds of years ago. Because this transition, requiring all this mining on indigenous lands, is in many ways a repeat of history, which, again, I would say the church helped put in motion beginning hundreds of years ago. And this day and age of us finally wanting to decolonize the world, decolonize the church, decolonize mission. A piece of that is dismantling what we call the doctrine of discovery. What happened 500 years ago when the dawn of colonization, it was the church who put forth the moral justification to go and steal lands, exploit those lands, and oppress and annihilate the people living on those lands. And so, like King Ferdinand of Spain said in the early 1500s to his conquistadores, get gold, humanely if possible, but at all costs, get gold. Today, we're saying, get lithium, get cobalt, get nickel, get copper, humanely if possible, but at all costs, get them. So as much as the church has stood up for the rights of people impacted by climate change, we've got this whole new issue here in which we may be repeating history if we're not standing in solidarity with indigenous peoples, the right to sovereignty, and the right to their land. The world is what it is today. Everything around us, the technology, the infrastructure, it is rooted in an extractive economy. That's what we live in today, which has given us so many things, but it's at great cost to many peoples, to the land, and of course climate change being the ultimate consequence of an extractive economy. To abandon that completely overnight is not reasonable, not feasible, but yet that transition away from fossil fuels is absolutely necessary and urgent. So renewable energies have to be in our future, but how can we do it in a fair and just way? And what we're saying is indigenous voices have to be not only at the table, they need to have the final voice in many cases. Yes, do this mining project on our land, or no, don't do it. These are sacred lands, and you can't heal the destruction of the earth with more destruction of the earth. I've recently had a chance to travel around the U.S., visit with congregations, tell about Peru in the context of climate change, etc. And I think many Presbyterians care deeply about climate change, and I think are wanting to propose solutions and adapt certain aspects of their lifestyle to a certain extent. Meaning, yeah, we're going to stop buying gas cars and we're going to have electric vehicles. And, I respect that. But I think from the global south, folks are saying, some are saying, I don't care what kind of car you have at all. I don't care if you have a car, because whether it's gas or whether it's an electric vehicle, it's going to have repercussions for us in the global south. And it's not just the global south, it's parts of the US as well, whether, Nevada, or lithium mining in Nevada, copper mining in Arizona. So it's the average Presbyterian is not necessarily aware of the repercussions of some of the solutions we're proposing. So that's a question we need to reckon with, particularly those from the global north, those from relatively wealthy contexts in which we live and lifestyles. Something's going to have to be sacrificed at the end of the day. And what's that going to be? Is it going to be other people's lands, other people's health, other people's futures, or the way we get around town or around the country? So these are some questions we need to reckon with.